So, our cruise to Alaska. I had one major all-encompassing problem with it. And that little had a lot to do with it.
I'm Tom, she's Daniela. We have 2 sons, one with autism and one who's normal. Now that they're older and kinda out of the house, we now have time to go do the things we love. And we love cruising. All of us, but mostly me and Daniela. And sometimes I get a little overexcited about it.
Bags. Wife. Ship. Gangway. Windy gangway. Watch steps on.
If you're new to cruising, or like me, just love watching other people's videos to see what you can learn, well, that's what we hope to do. Help you out a little bit. We've decided to go on as many cruises as we can while we can. And we're getting there.
Okay, so apologies for the clickbaity intro there, but it kind of wasn't in reality. The problem I had with this Alaska cruise was that it was perfect. It was perfect. And that's a bit of an issue because Alaska is one of those cruises where they say you're going to do it more than once. You're going to do it a handful of times probably. And I totally believe that. There's so many different places to go, so many different things to see, and the scenery is beautiful every time you go. Why wouldn't you go more than once? But the issue that I had was everything on this cruise went so incredibly well. What's going to happen next time? I don't know. But nonetheless, let's show you what happened on this one. Let's get her going.
And we've made it to Vancouver on time. It's barely 11 o'clock.
We made it off the plane without murdering anybody.
Yes, she made it off the plane without murdering anybody.
We started out landing in Vancouver Airport, then taking the TransLink train straight from the airport to the waterfront stop, which was just a short walk to the cruise pier. Super, super easy process. From there, we got to the celebrity sorting bin.
12:25. We have our security ticket for both of us. We're going to get on straight into our room. This couldn't have gone more smoothly.
Worked perfectly.
Still haven't seen our friends yet, but hopeful that we will see them soon.
Yes.
And that's about as smoothly as it was gonna go, because then we headed to Maze Town. The zigzag lines of the Vancouver cruise pier are a sight to behold. Let me tell you, it seems like they just never end.
It's about to come around the corner here after the big long zigzag. Made it walking all over the building and bam! Security.
But we eventually made it on board, got to our concierge lunch in the main dining room, then off to our room. For our room, we were lucky enough to win our bid for an aft balcony cabin, so we had gorgeous views from the back of the ship. One thing that an Alaska cruise has that almost no other cruise has is absolutely incredible views all through the day, no matter where you are. We met up with our friends Vicky and Sean, who joined us on this trip, and we all went to dinner at the Tuscan Grill. Oh my word, was that good. The best steak I've ever had at sea, possibly ever, to be honest. So good, we booked it again later on that week. Then after that, we took in the show. Always great shows on these ships, and this was no exception. From there, we pretty much called it a day. Day 2 was an easy one at sea. Even then, where usually a sea day gives you views of clear blue ocean at best, oh, too bad. We were going through the inside passage and had nothing but gorgeous views on each side of us. The inside passage crew, by the way, has one of the nicer, newer pilot boats I've ever seen. Lots to do on the ship, too. The exceptional entertainment crew of cruise director Kate and her entertainment squad, Andrew, Juneau, and Helen, got everyone going. And my wife was not about to miss the ABBA sing-along.
Mamma mia, here I go again. Mama, how can I resist you?
We almost lost Helen in the glass elevator, though. Low Loads of fun had by all, a little dancing, a little singing, a little drinking, and then that led to bedtime.
So, what's your morning view like?
The views from the aft balcony were spectacular, and today we were headed into Icy Strait Point, not getting there until around 1 p.m. Once you get off here, there is a nice pier that walks you into the tram area where you can take the free tram over to the center of the town area. For this one, the only thing we booked was the world's largest zip line. No joke. We took another tram, which was much steeper and more than a bit terrifying, especially when it would stop and sway near the top. But we needed to get all the way up to the top for this zip line, which had Daniela in full lockdown mode due to nerves. You can see her face here as we watch the group ahead of us go.
That looks fun.
Now, I did not record our go for a couple of reasons. One, I want to enjoy the ride, not record it. And two, I sure didn't want to risk dropping my phone onto a bear down below. 90 seconds long and a great ride the whole way, lots of fun. Daniela ended up loving it, and we made great friends in our group and had great chats and hangouts together for the rest of the cruise. They're all friends of ours now. Brenda and CJ from Hawaii, and Franz and Tracy from California. Along with our friend Vicky, we are the zipline survivors of Celebrity Solstice. From there, it was all relaxation and walking around the town center, going through the museums and shops. Some beautiful art and kitchen knives I absolutely loved in there that we almost walked out of there with. Almost. Day 4 was spectacular. Today we were heading in to see the Hubbard Glacier. But first, before we got there, Daniela and I had booked a glass blowing appointment on the ship. Yep, you heard right. Glass blowing. Heather and Ethan helped us make a nice vase for Daniela, or a nice vase, depending on how you want to say it, and a fancy new whiskey tumbler for me. Nice. Then we got in close to the Hubbard Glacier, and I mean close. The conditions were so perfect that the captain said we got in as far as we were allowed, half a mile. That's the limit. The glacier pushes forward over 80 feet a year, so it naturally has to actually break off and fall into the water here and there, which is called calving. If you're lucky, you get to see it happen. In our case, because it was warm and sunny, we saw a ton of it. Up over there. Sorry, I just got my hand. Look at that one. That literally went as perfectly as it could. You just heard this thunderous sound over and over and over again as these large chunks of ice fell into the water. It was absolutely beautiful. Day 5 was Juneau, the capital city of Alaska, and here our luck continued on as the skies opened up and it was sunny, warm as you wanted it to be, and just all around gorgeous. We booked a whale watching tour, and let me tell you, this again could not have gone better. Let me just point out how lucky we were. Usually when you see a whale in the channels, you might be lucky enough to see this. You get to see the back come out of the water for a little bit from a good distance away. You could see the blowhole blast thing and even a tail here and there if you're fortunate. We saw plenty of that. In fact, at one point we were in the middle of 8 whales all around us where we saw exactly that over and over and over again. So we were absolutely stoked, super happy, plenty satisfied, until this teenager came along and decided it was his time to shine. And that wasn't it. We also saw very rare porpoises, which by the way look nothing like dolphins. And then to top it all off, on the way back, we saw sea lions popping up out of the water right next to us as we were heading back to dock. It was absolutely crazy. The stuff we got out of that tour, it'll never be better than that. Then when we got back, Daniela and I decided we needed to try the local seafood, so we ate at the flight deck right near the ship. Daniela had an oyster shot, the salmon chowder, and the coconut shrimp, which she said all of them were fantastic. I had the halibut and chips. So good. And we got to see seaplanes coming and going from the dock right in front of us. From there, we walked through the town a bit, saw the enormous whale statue, hit some of the shops, and then saw some skateboard kids putting on a show, just doing what they do for fun, having a good time. And that was Juneau. Day 6, Ketchikan, a very quaint little town with loads of charm to it. For this one, it finally rained a bit, so there, not completely perfect. Hope you're happy. The big thing to do in town here is the Lumberjack Show, where they don't want you to record it, which is fine, but you can take pictures. It was a great show, highly recommend. From there, we just walked to the town a bit and headed back to the ship because we had plans. This was the second time we booked Tuscan Grill, so we came hungry and we were ready to eat, and boy did we eat. Daniela had the crab cake and calamari to start, while I had the burrata with stuffed peeled tomatoes. So good. We both then had the filet mignon with rosemary peppercorn sauce, and on the side I only had half a lasagna, and Daniela had short rib pappardelle. So needless to say, we were plenty full. So we needed to work some of that off. Fortunately, this was the night they had silent disco. Here you can see we roped in our new friends Brenda and CJ, along with Vicky and Sean. Now, if you've never been part of a silent disco before, you simply must try this. It is so much fun. Everyone wears headphones with different DJs on different channels. You just switch back and forth between the two of them, or three of them sometimes. So for anyone walking by, all you see is a swarm of idiots all dancing around to different beats and occasionally blurting out a chorus or something. Now, when I am on a cruise, I like to have fun. So, if the Proclaimers come on, and you happen to be in the vicinity of a whiskey-infused big guy with a big voice who spent over 20 years in radio, you better be ready for things to get a bit loud. We ended that night by chatting up a storm with Brenda and CJ, with neither of us realizing the clocks were actually going forward an hour that night, until we looked at our watches at one point and saw that it was 3 a.m. Thank goodness it was a sea day the next day. Day 7 was a simple wind-down kind of day while we cruised through the inside passage on the way back to Vancouver. Packing up, taking our time, just walking around the ship and taking in the sights. Eating more great food, including lobster, in the main dining room. Ooh. Then, we took in the final show with some great acrobatics in it. Great way to end it all up. And that pretty much wraps things up, as we were headed home when we got into Vancouver the next morning. To sum things up, this was as perfect as it gets. We had a fantastic time. Celebrity cruises and the solstice were everything we could ask for, and then some. I cannot recommend it enough, and I hope you look into it. We'll see you on the next one.